and zoning tonight. Let's start off with roll call. Cody?
Here.
Chris?
Here.
Ruth Ann here.
Dan. It's been 5 minutes, it feels like. Lynn?
Here.
Chris?
Here.
And Ren.
Here.
Got everybody here tonight. Let's go ahead and review our minutes. I know it was not called to order by me because I was not at the meeting. So I was at home, yeah. And so I couldn't have called the meeting to order.
I believe it was Lynn.
I conducted it.
I wasn't here either.
Okay.
It says Chairperson Steve Turner.
Yeah.
I actually had COVID at the time. Yeah, that's why I wasn't at that meeting.
Any other changes anybody saw that needed done?
I move approval.
Approval as amended by
Second that.
second by Ren. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay. Mayor Bird. JR. Just JR tonight. Go ahead and tell us about.
Big one for you guys. This is part of the reason I have to modify our. So this is a good example of why we need to modify Title 17. It's a simple lot line adjustment, so we're not creating any new lots or anything. We're just redefining the boundary between the two lots. And that's basically it. So I own the piece. So this is the piece that I own. This is where I live. And I own these 3 lots down here. Clayton Miller owns this parcel here. And this line used to come straight to this corner right here. And it jogged through here, and it used to follow the old creek bottom. But if you were to try to put a fence or something through there, it's swampy and yucky, and it's just a mess. So I talked to him, and we visited about just straighten that line out parallel with this line on 33, is that 33B, coming up and then jogging back into the property line here, which is out of the bottom and kind of more up on the ridge, so that we can do fencing between the 2 parcels. And anyway, that's basically it. So he's agreed. He and I have both signed the plat, and I'll be gaining about 0.209 acres of property from him. So that's basically it.
That, and I'll just make, it is just a simple lot line adjustment here, but if you read the top, it says lot line, it says boundary line adjustment of the West Ridge lot split. And so that's why it says lot split, because we're actually amending a lot split. I talked to Ryan already on this after the fact, because I didn't quite understand it. So it's something we'll have to look in the future, because it does have to be amended on kind of a minor subdivision. And that's why it still says West Ridge lot split, but if you read the top, it's just a boundary line adjustment. So it's right. Correct. Yeah, it's actually just JR is adding property to his lot and taking it from Clayton. So it's just simple. I just wanted to just mention that because I talked to Ryan about this, so I better understand it.
And this is one of those things that I know in Duchesne County. So in Duchesne County, this is something, a simple lot line adjustment is something that Mike Hyde can do, so that we don't have a meeting and everybody have to come to do this. If it fits within the ordinance and it's not, creating new lots or anything, that's something that we'll look at the future. But that will be something that, will come from this planning and zoning committee. So if that's something that you guys think we ought to do and feel comfortable with, I would make this suggestion to do that, but, obviously it has to come through this board to be able to do that. Anything above that, as far as splitting, lots or creating new lots, I think definitely needs to come before, the planning and zoning board, but I don't know, that's up to you to decide, but I'm just asking for this to be approved tonight so that we can move forward. Yes,
So you're gonna get one from Mr. Miller?
yes. He does, and that was one of the things. So I've already taken the plat to Sunrise Title. They've looked it over. They asked the same question if there's any liens. And believe me, I know, because I just got done with lot 9 adjustments, and 2 other property owners were involved, and they both had liens, and that was a nightmare getting the bank to release it. Yeah, release the lien on the pieces that were being modified. So thank goodness this one doesn't have that, and so I'll take it back over to Sunrise Title. When it's signed, we'll have the new deeds drawn up, and it'll be recorded that way. So. And then I'll give him his money.
Any other questions?
You're gonna put a fence through that?
Yeah, it's already, so it's already fenced on the south, and I've fenced it. There used to be a fence, an existing fence, and I tore it out in that section. And so part of the reason I want to get this done too is Duchesne County came and looked at it and said, well, you can't be on Greenbelt because it's not fenced. And I said, well, I'm working on that, and anyway, they took me off Greenbelt, and I had to pay a lot of money. So I'd like to get it fenced back in and everything else so that I can get back. Of course, they still have my money. I don't get that back, but I'd like to get it back on Greenbelt so I'm not paying thousands of dollars a year for that size of a property.
Who owns the property just beyond?
Which
50
trail?
lots? To the top? Yeah, up on, where, show us the piece you're talking about.
So I own these 3 lots.
Okay, okay.
Right, so. No, Brad, so this is Brad.
Okay.
Any other concerns?
So that's gonna cause a spill in the creek area? You're gonna get an Army Corps permit for that?
I do what now?
An Army Corps permit for that?
For what?
Filling in a wetland?
Nope.
Just kidding, neighbor.
For the record, no.
I was put up for that.
But believe it or not, I'm one of 2 people on that whole creek that did get a permit from the Army Corps of Engineers to cross it. There's several people that have crossed it down through there, and there's only 2 permits. And I know that because I went out personally. If you know me, I don't do anything without making sure it's 100% legit. So where you see where I come across the creek and the road goes across the creek, that was all designed and everything else. And I'm not impatient, but I want to make sure things get done. So instead of just sending it in the mail, I sent it in the mail, and then about 3 days later, I showed up there and said, "Hey, did you receive my stuff?" And explained what I was doing. So anyway, it's all legit. What's that? Well, it's been a few years, but I'll be honest. They told me because I probably shouldn't say it on record, but I can't remember his name anyway. The other guy that did do his, he told me it's going to be 6 months to a year. I got mine done in 2.5 to 3 months at the most. So I figured if they saw me and knew who I was, and that would make a difference. And
We have a motion for approval or any other motion?
I'll move approval.
Motion to approve by Lynn,
I'll second that.
second by Chris Squire. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? All right. Do we have any other business tonight?
We don't have any other business, but possibly, Jerry's talked to me, we could have something coming in April. Grant was unable to attend today, but he was hoping, he had some serious court cases, he was hoping to be able to attend in April. So he couldn't be here too, but I believe we're gonna be talk a couple of things, but they aren't, just so you know. And if you're interested in this ordinance change, they're going through handbook now. I understand the council is gonna be addressing ordinance in the future. This might something, if Grant's here, you can talk to him about too. That's all I got.
Anything else? Tom?
Well, I just, I've had a discussion with someone who owns a piece of farm property that he'd like to bring in the city, but he's talking about doing it on larger lots, and so he didn't want to have to do all the improvements. Nor do we have a vision in there for that to happen. Anyway, I'd like to look at that sometime. See if you had 1 acre or 2 acre lots. Otherwise, they do them and we get our water, and they do them out of the city, and just thought,
Everyone's
and then what are the improvements required? Yeah,
the RR one didn't require the sidewalk.
that's the issues.
Do that.
I don't have anything else.
Mm-hmm. See what it says.
Might be, we want to look at how they came up with Stonegate, how they came up with curb only there. On that, I don't know, I wasn't a part of that right there, so it's something we would have to look at, but as far as I'm aware, it's a mandate of all public services and construction, unless it's specifically cut out. But that's something we need to look at and study and see where it came from. Right. It did have
It had asphalt.
It did have asphalt, but we dug it up and relayed it and put it in curb. So it was a whole different situation other than a new development.
Yeah.
Yes. There were just some who would like to. But unfortunately,
Yeah.
city right there.
Yeah.
Heard anything that was on the site. When Jared West proposed, remember that? So it's something that's gonna have to be looked at on the individual nature, I would say. And probably gonna have to come up with a policy for a larger stuff in the future, something that we probably need to look at. Still, we gotta look, everybody says we gotta look out for the city, make sure they have services, because if you look at Stonegate, city went after the fact, put in the roads and they still don't have curb and gutter. It's not there, so,
Gutter.
do they have gutter? Oh, yeah. What was the one that, West was, Jared West was proposing the subdivision right up here in back of town. I want to say it was one thing. Stuff that he sold to, like, not for
Right.
The only thing to consider when, and this is what I would say when we defer, those types of things. I'm not saying I'm for or against, other than, when those things are deferred and the developer doesn't pay for those things, most likely, in the long run, Roosevelt City residents get to pay for that. And so I think that burden is better placed on those that are benefiting from that in that area when they buy the lot. So that's incorporated in their purchase of their lot, and it's paid for. The developer develops it, people that buy the lot pay for it, and then Roosevelt City maintains it. If we don't do it that way, then Roosevelt City gets to take on the liability. So I think that's part of the reason we've made some of the decisions we have, is ultimately know that liability will go back onto the Roosevelt City residents, if it's not paid for up front. Just, neither here nor there, just something.
My
Something to think about.
this one here. I know if they adjoin the city and they want sewer, they have to annex in to obtain it. I don't know about water for
Yeah.
subdivision, but I would almost assume that if they adjoin the property. Well, it was done quite a while ago. And unfortunately, I know what you're saying there. Oh, absolutely, and I think it's required now if they are adjoining the city.
No. Something to think about on that. We had a motion from Ms. Thompson to adjourn. Second by Lynn, all in favor?
I'm gonna take the blame from him. That was. We were chatting out there. So we came up with, they started saying it takes 2 years to get to the process with the Army Corps of Engineers. So that's why he threw that.